Okay, so I was born and raised in the Philippines. My parents divorced when I was 2. I was left behind. Both my parents left, and my mom's actually born and raised in LA.
Hello, and welcome back to my Courage, Confidence, and Connections podcast, fans. Thanks for joining us. I'm Janice Debo, and my guest today is Dr. CJ Leyland. And we're going to have her talk about who she is, what she does, which I don't know how much time we have because she does so much. We're going to get into it. Welcome, CJ.
Thank you for having me here, Janice. I appreciate you. This is exciting. It's my first time here with you.
It is probably the
Yeah.
first time of many because we're into this for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate you joining. And yeah, I'd like you to start with just telling our audience a little bit about where you are and maybe about your background in growing up and that. I love fun stories, so anything you want to share on that level?
Sure. Story time. I love story time. When I teach business law, I actually do story time on the cases that we're doing, right?
Uh,
Okay, so I was born and raised in the Philippines. My parents divorced when I was 2. I was left behind. Both my parents left, and my mom's actually born and raised in LA. Went to the Philippines because her parents also got divorced, and so she got shipped in the Philippines. I think she was already like 15 when she went there. She got pregnant, met my dad, got me at 16, very young. Yeah, and so then dad was 18 at that time or 17, and so they basically raised me for 2 years, and then my mom came back to America to tell her dad she has a baby before 18. And then I don't know what happened in between. I'll never get the right story, but it's moot at that point. But they left me in the Philippines. I came here in the US when I was 13,
oh,
and I've been here ever since. So, yeah.
wow, that's quite a history. What was it like growing up in the Philippines? Because it's the culture is so different, and I'd love you to share a little bit about how it was for you then, and then we'll go into more current times.
Yeah. So growing up in the Philippines, when people say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so poor," you don't know what poor is until you've been in the third world country, right?
Yeah.
Um, Also growing up, people here in America panic when there's a like a no like a blackout, right? Like for 1 hour you have no electricity. we
Yeah.
what we have in the Philippines is called brownouts. We don't even have, like, growing up, I remember we don't ever have fridge because there's no electricity.
Oh,
Even if people can afford electricity or a refrigerator, there was no consistent light,
wow.
right? Yeah, so we eat everything fresh. We cook everything fresh. I grew up in a community in the beach, literally. So when we see fish, we have to get up at 5:30 because by 7 you have no more fresh fish. Everybody in your neighbor already got the fresh fish. When we say, hey, we want to eat vegetables, we go to our farm because we grow all the vegetables. Oh, we need to have an animal. Okay. We have our own chicken farm, goat farm, all these things. Oh, we need eggs. We just go outside and pick up the eggs because we have chicken farm, right?
Yes.
Um, right. So I think at age probably 5 is when I went to, like, what you call here, Vaughn's. Over there, everything was, I know how to kill a chicken, cook a chicken, and I know how to do the fish, and I know how to kill a cow. Like, that's how we grew up. And also at that time, our entertainment was, I mean, our toys were rocks. We go out in the morning at 8 on the weekend and come back for lunch at 12 and then come back at 5 at nighttime because there's no electricity,
Hmm.
right? So if there's electricity, then that happens. But we have a lot of things that I grew up in also in the Philippines is that I did have 5 maids and a driver growing up because my family had business. And again, we own a farm. And so we kind of half and half. So sometimes I get shipped in the poorest side where my grandma's like, you got to learn how to do these things because anytime, anywhere in the world you can go, you know how to survive.
Yeah.
And then half of the time I'm in the city and I go hopping islands. There's 7,000 islands in the Philippines. The big ones are Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So I was raised in Mindanao and Visayas. So I would be considered a Bisaya in the Philippines, not Tagalog. Yeah.
Wow, what a different culture because wow, we're spoiled over here. So, oh my goodness, I don't think, and I've said this before, I don't know that I could survive if I was left to do that stuff. And we weren't rich, but we had refrigerators and we went to stores and things like that. But oh my goodness, wow, that's shocking. Did you say 7,000 islands?
7,107 islands in the
No way.
Philippines. But if it's high tide, if it's low tide, it's more, right? It's if it's yeah, and that's another thing too in the Philippines, our water is 80 degrees all the time, 80, 90 degrees. And when it's low tide, you can actually go in the middle of the ocean and you see the sandbar.
Mm.
But you gotta watch for the water to rise because it rise quick. Um,
Oh,
and then you gotta go back to so yeah. It's funny how like we have prawns, like huge, seafood. I'm a seafood person, and it costs nothing, right? But then when you come here, you're like lobster. It's market price at $90 per leg. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, yeah,
I know. Talk about sticker shock. That's crazy. Yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah. So growing up
I
here,
love,
yeah,
yeah. So you grew up catching your own fish and killing your own food.
food. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we did. And we learned how to do that. And my pet in the Philippines, my grandfather was into the logging import export business as well. And one time he was doing a logging in the mountains and he found a baby monkey, but it was an albino, so it was all white. And so he kept it because I think the mom might either died or got poached or something. So he kept it. So I was growing up with a huge, like, monkey. And he was white. We call him Ngoy Ngoy. And he loves beautiful girls. He whistles every time he sees our maid wear shorts. It was hilarious.
That is funny. It's amazing how smart well, animals in general are smart, but
Yeah.
monkeys fascinate me. I'm not a real fan of them as a rule, but I've seen them in the zoos and things like that, and they're
Oh, yeah.
very smart.
They are. They are
Yeah.
very smart. Yeah.
That's amazing. What a difference. Now, what brought you here at 13? That's got to be a good.
Parents, my dad says, it's time for you to come here because, again, my mom was born in LA. She's a Valley girl. And so I came here saying, hey, you don't really belong there. You belong here. Because I was an American citizen, because my mom was an American citizen.
Oh, right.
And they just left me there. So at age 13, I came here, didn't know how to speak English. And then I learned English in 3 months, and it's supposed to be 3 years. I'm like, okay, education is something I breathe, like literally.
Literally.
Um,
Wow.
and yeah, and then from there, I graduated high school early at junior year. I was already done with high school credits, but if you want to go to college, you have to have 4 years of English and 4 years of math. So I was already done with math and English. So they're like, okay, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, I like Shakespeare. So I took Shakespeare for senior year and business statistics for college on high school. So I went to college and high school at the same time
Oh, wow. I
while
know.
I was in high school, while I was working 30 hours a week.
Wow, you're a sponge.
Yeah.
You're an educational sponge. And that explains what you do now. What kind of a culture shock was it when you left the Philippines at
It
13?
was a lot because A, language was a barrier.
Mhm.
B, culture was a barrier. C, weather was a barrier.
Mhm.
And I left everyone and everything that I know.
Yeah.
I came here, I didn't have any maids or drivers. I had to take a bus. I'm like, what is that?
Mm.
I didn't know how to clean and I couldn't go anywhere. My food was different. The language was really killing me, and I didn't have my cousins. I'm an only child. I didn't even have my cousins. My cousins were like my sisters. I didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a big adjustment trying to find friends, being with the barriers that you encountered?
It was uh probably huge, but I'm a person that talks no matter who you are. So I found friends like within a month. And it got to the point actually in my sophomore year that the principal of the high school that I go to that every time that he would have an international students, he would have me shadow them.
Okay.
And it was so funny. And then junior year, I taught history in the history class. My teacher was like, go ahead. And I took Spanish at the same time as well for another language. I spoke like 7 different languages at that time. And so the principal was like, yeah, you just go to CJ. It got to the point where all the international students would just hang out with me. So I created an international club. And the principal's like, okay. And literally, I just wanted food. So I'm like, guys, every month we meet, just bring in food. We're good. This is a good, different culture. Like,
Bring the food.
yeah, bring the food. You want to in? Bring the food. That's all our club was like eating. And, because I was trying to say, like, even though we're Asians, we come from different Asian countries. And so the foods are different, right? The languages are different. The culture have similarities, but not really the same. So that's how I pitch it to the principal. And he's like, you're right. Yeah, let's do that. So we did.
Oh, that's bad. Well, you've been an inspiration to thousands of people, maybe millions, I don't know at this point. But a lot of your background explains what you're doing now and why you're doing it. So let's dive in and talk about that and what your transition was from your schooling to how did you get to where you are now? Because we're going to explore that in depth.
Yeah. So basically, in high school, I was working full time, 30 hours a week in junior year because I was already graduated and I went to college and I work at a bank called North County Bank. It's not in existence anymore, but they got bought out by Wells Fargo. And
Mhm.
I was what they called like a runner. Basically somebody, so I started working for the executive admin for the bank and she works for the CEO and the owner of the bank and also all the board members. So what I would do is go to board meetings, fill out the board meetings, and then I was doing banking unit. So I would investigate. I love numbers. So I investigate all the numbers, make sure that all the accounting to the T. And this is at age 16.
Wow.
And yeah. So I would do that. And then I was the PBX operator of the bank because apparently I enunciate my English. And so I was literally the operator of the bank. So I would get like 160 calls literally per hour for 8 hours. And then because I love numbers, I also dabble in a little bit on accounting.
Mm.
I did benefits in HR at 16 because I was a runner. I learned everything in that bank. And then after the graduation, my first computer actually was a compact, very thick. And the owner of the bank is my what do you call that person? Like somebody who basically speaks up, like, oh, if she default on the loan, a cosigner. He
Yeah.
was the owner of the bank, co-signed my loan that took the money from his bank for my first computer.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
I asked him because he was my boss, he was my manager. I was like, I need a computer, and he's like, I'm like, I don't have money for that. And he's like, but I can make a payment. He's like, well, I'll pay you anyway. Fine, I'll co-sign. And all the people are like, why are you co-signing that you own the bank? He's like, shh, just do it. And so he was a co-signer of my own loan. From there, I went to college at Cal State. I actually double major, computer science, computer programming, computer software, and communications. I love journalism, writing. I've been writing since high school, but my dad's like, you need to do computers. That's the future. This was like 20 something years ago. I'm like, oh, fine. I love computers, but I hate programming and I love math. So he's like, just do it. So I did it. But because I worked full time at Geico at that time, 40 hours a week, and it was open 24 hours, so I would work, Janice, from 4 to 2 a.m., go to class at 8 a.m., in at 2, take a nap at 1, and then go to school at 4. I did that for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to chuckle because you said a term that I imagine there are going to be a lot of people in our audience that have no idea what a PBX is. Now I do. I
Ah,
I do. I mean, let's talk about that because we're going back a few decades and I do know what that is. I grew up selling the first voicemail systems there were.
oh.
Um and our young audience is probably going to PB what? So what was it you were operating?
So think of like back in the 30s in the government, guys, you Google, this big, huge telephone and there's a whole bunch of holes in it and you plug in those things. Think of me like that, like North County Bank Association, what department you're in, plug in, plug in, plug in. That was me.
Mhm.
And I love it because I love talking to people and I did DMVs. I mean, I did so much at age 16, literally. I even got into library science. My school needed a library aide, so I was the only one allowed to do library aide. Because I did zero period. That's why I graduated early. Because I would go to school at 7, do my homework, starts at 7:30, and at 3, then do my clubs because I was a president of all clubs. and and then, of course, I also volunteer on my community. So about 1,000 hours a year for our community service. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's you were on the fast track, so that lays a lot of groundwork to talk about what you're doing now. When you transitioned into doing your own thing, what was your motivation? What were your beginnings like?
Sure. So I actually work in banking. Also, I dabbled a little bit as a commercial banker
Hmm.
and finance. And I also, because I love banking and I love numbers, and I work for Geico, I was doing sales actually in service. And then I became a manager there. And then from there, I got married, got one child, and then didn't go back to work at all for like 9, 10 years. I was a stay-at-home mom. But while I was a stay-at-home mom, I went back to school and get my first master's, which was my MBA, because I have two masters. And then after I gave birth to my second child, I was 29, I went back to school to get my doctorate. I had cancer in between there, so I stopped for a minute. And then I came back again, graduated, waited years, and then got my second master's in cybersecurity.
Wow. So is there anything you can't do?
Work out, apparently. Yeah, so I teach full time now. I teach full time now for veteran students mostly online. And I also own Level Up Academy because of one of my students who needed my help on acculturations and cross cultural communications working here in America.
Awesome. So, on that note of Level Up Academy, I find fascinating what you do with all, there's so many things involved. I know you're self-publishing and of course you have your television show. Let's talk about how many pies you have your fingers in, and then we can explore a little bit around that.
Yeah, so on my journey to doing as a dean, I was a dean at three different universities actually after that.
My gosh.
One was on ground business, and the other one was business and accounting. Again, I love numbers, and then IT as well.
Oh, wow.
And okay, because I have a master's in cyber, and so I said, okay, let's go ahead and think about like the drama and the politics as a dean. I didn't want to go against the grain, right? Like when people have a status quo and you're trying to help them, but then you just keep hitting the wall. I'm not a martyr. Like I'm not keep going through that niche. You don't pay me enough to have wrinkles on that problems. Like I just won't. So I took myself out and just teach because I love teaching. I actually learn more than teaching than reading, right? So I opened Level Up Academy because of the podcast that I did as a dean.
Mhm.
And it was only level up for higher education. That means I only invite people who have PhD, master's program, master's degree to talk about the states of education. But
Mhm.
once I left being a dean, I found fascinating that there are people who don't have a degree that have really amazing things to serve their community.
Mhm.
And that's how I open up Level Up Academy because I teach courses on the people that didn't really want to go to college back in the days. But now they're like, I want to learn something, but you don't really need a degree to learn something. It's just your willingness to learn, right? And so, and we're so fascinated with this paper. Literally, a degree is more of like you have structure and you
Mhm.
finish the structure. That's how I see it. It's the applied science that makes it count. You know all the theory, but if you can't work those theory, then what is it good for? Nothing.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. And myself, I quit school. I did a little bit of college, and I was one of those. I fell in love. Well, I was in love, so I left school to support the other person, and I never went back. And so, I've thought about it here and there. but I've been a lifelong learner, and I've learned. My dad, you'll like this. My dad had a bachelor's, and he went to divinity school, to Duke University, Duke Divinity, and he said, with all the degrees and all the studies, he goes, the most important degree I have is the School of Hard Knocks. And isn't that true in life? We do learn more. Now, even if you get the education, applying it is what matters. But life gives us lessons, and sometimes we do. I don't know how many doctorates I must have by now from life, but a few, a few lessons to say the least. What are your thoughts on that particular topic?
I love that. And that's the reason why I switch, right? So once I started switching, I was in LA Weekly and all of that
Mhm.
because I think people gravitate to the applied part. And that's what my degree is. I don't have a PhD, I have a DBA. And the difference is that PhD is mostly theory. There are PhD who does applications, but for me it's applied science degree meaning, hey, this is the theory and we're going to test it in market to see if it works. And I love testing it. I'm a doer, not just a thinker, right? So I think people learn how to package themselves based on their experiences. Therapists went to school for framework, but really, to be a good therapist, you need more clients with different issues and problems so you can have the solution because a theory and a framework is just that, a theory and a framework.
Mhm.
Right. But once you work it in real life, you know it doesn't work like that. Like you can plan and visionize and do whatever, but at the end of the day, you're like, I can't do it. It's just not gonna work. So I love people who basically created something for themselves. And degree doesn't differentiate you who you are and what kind of person you are in the heart, right?
Mhm.
That's just more of like, okay, you're disciplined to do enough. So what, right? Different life. And some people actually don't like schools, and it's okay if you don't like schools, right? Some people actually got discouraged, like my dad. He has dyslexia. He's very smart. I mean, that man, you think I'm good with math? That man's like calculator. And he has dyslexia. And so my grandparents like worked so hard to get him to college. And the end of the year, he'd return his book and the library is like, this still has a plastic. And my dad's like, yeah, because I tried the small book and the words run around. I don't want to catch the words. I don't want to do it. And so he never finished college because nobody knew that he had dyslexia. They just think he's weird and stupid, right? But he's not. That's the problem I think in our society is that we gravitate to whatever that the trend is and
Mhm.
then put everybody down when you're not in that circle. And that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, what makes us important and special is our differences. And I'm one that loves to collaborate. You and I've talked about that. Collaboration is more valuable than anything because we learn from each other that way. And we did as children. I mean, if we just open our hearts now as adults like we did when we were kids, we can learn the valuable lessons as adults, no matter what age, for sure. Um, I had three siblings, and we're all very, very different. But I learned a lot of life lessons. I learned things I shouldn't do. We all went in different directions. But having people in your life that are different is so important to learn from. Why are we different? What makes me different? Learn lessons of our own about ourselves. I've learned more about myself by the people I've been around.
I agree. And I think being open-minded because we come from trauma and bias. And if somebody tells you, oh, I don't have trauma and bias, you're lying to yourself. That's just part of human nature. You're lying to yourself. More self-awareness is needed, right? But we come from trauma and the baggage, really. It's just a matter of like, are you willing to heal yourself first so you can help others? And I think when others are trying to help others while they're still healing really bad, that's when it gets a bad reputation. Oh, you should have gone back to school because you don't know what you're doing, right? That's what happens. I think it's people, I think for me is inherently good. I think they really want to help others. It's just that sometimes we don't look at ourselves enough and reflect on our own weaknesses because
Right.
Our strength is to help other people.
Yeah, that is very, very true. I have learned so much about me through the worst situations and how I responded or reacted, and that's why I write so much. I love journaling every single morning, and it's sometimes just really silly, like I mean nothing, but but I like doing it because it kind of helps me stop, over and over again on things that we get that cycle of thinking, overthinking, I guess. But I have learned so much from experiences that made me who I am. And none of us like going through tough times, but those times are going to help us. And people are going to watch this and go, she killed her own chickens. Oh my word. And a cow. Oh, I couldn't do it. That I think I'll be a vegetarian. But but isn't it true that we do have to learn lessons about ourselves through engagement and collaboration?
We do. And that's what I do now too is, when you're looking at it, yes, I'm a seasoned educator, almost 14, 15 years now, probably over 15, 16,000 students really.
Hmm.
My youngest student is 4 because I used to do K to 12, and my oldest students is 78. um, I
Oh,
do strategy and really like deep roots in academia, in marketing, and sales. And at the end of the day, it's what I'm looking for is more of a transformational leadership within ourselves, right?
yeah.
Um, I do curriculum development. Teach. I love teaching, but what I have a passion for also is marketing and visibility,
Mhm.
right? And I have done that. And you actually asked, it's like, yes, I have TV, I had radio, I have magazines. I also publish both academics and self-publishing.
Mhm.
One of our anthology actually is in Barnes and Nobles and Powell's and Miami University. So I do all of the books and writing because I love writing as well. I think I have like 22 books now, maybe. And I'm in the middle of academic publishing right now. I'm hoping I can get that into 6 different languages. So it'll be
Wow.
6 different books. So I'm in the middle of edits right now with 6 of us or 7 of us in that um, academic writing right now. I'm hoping you will be because our publisher is in Germany. But yeah, I love doing all kinds of collaboration.
And you certainly are good at it. You've brought so many people together, and excuse me, you had me on your show, which was so fun, and talking about different things with my life and my book at one point. It's amazing the influence that you are an influencer, and you're a major influencer in this, culture today. What would you say the biggest takeaway from your life so far that you would like to share with our audience?
I would say that stop with the vision and the strategy to be perfect.
Mhm.
Once you have something that you feel is good enough, go for it. Don't question it. Don't do the cognitive looping, right? When you're like replaying what could happen, what if, who cares what if? What
Yeah.
if it works? Okay. What if it doesn't? Okay. And also don't have expectations both on the results and the people,
Hmm.
because if you expect people, it's gonna fail. It just does. And if you expect everything perfect, you're gonna also fail. So try to design and innovate those loops by planning, building, testing, learning, repeat,
Hmm.
right? Planning, building, testing, learning, repeat. You got to learn and repeat the good ones, not repeat the bad ones. And when I mean bad ones, you will know because it's painful to do. Like if you're trying to do something and it seems painful,
Hmm.
don't do it. Why are you doing it? Like, why? Oh,
Yeah.
it's gonna work. Oh, okay. First of all, you know deep inside that it's not gonna work because you already know, right? Remember, guys, we walk with 5% of our consciousness and 95% subconscious. So if
Right.
you have that gut feeling, that's your subconscious telling you, CJ, it's not going to work because you've tried it. Or it could be that you're talking from your trauma self,
Hmm.
that you're being biased that it's not going to work because you've seen it before, right? You know that, like, oh gosh, I see this person already. I'm never going to be like friends with them. And then 6 months later, you're best friend with that person because you gave it a chance,
Right.
right? That same feeling. It's like, I know that everybody have that experience. So just come with an open mind and stop your bias and your own trauma from taking over your cognitive learning.
Yeah, I've heard it said that oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes what we see and criticize in others is something we need to look at ourselves, and because it's something that about us that they're reflecting. And life is a mirror. Life reflects who we are, not otherwise. It's if who I am, what is that saying, CJ? Life that no, it's about who we are versus I can't think of the saying now. It's just gone. Um, but how we see things, it's about how we see things versus it's that mirror effect. You know what I'm saying? If
Okay, so are you saying like the mirror doesn't lie, but it also doesn't predict? Like it shows what it is. It reminds us of what could be, but like ask, are you the current action aligned with your future self? Like yeah, who we are is a literally current reflection, our habits, our actions, our mindset, our outcomes. But who we want to be is that inner vision board, the future self that we imagine. So yeah, I think Janice too, like most people become with the loop thinking becomes a problem is when we have analysis by paralysis, right? When we overthink, you're
Mhm.
like, oh my God, I gotta do it, I gotta do it. And then ruminating,
Mhm.
right? When you ruminate, it's often negative.
Yeah.
Like when you ruminate some things, it's always like, oh, it's something negative, right? And then of course, it's inefficient. You're repeating process without escalation or solution. And
Yeah.
we like to do this. Like for me, I know I like sometimes like I say like, oh, I don't want to do this, but then I'm doing it, and then I'm like, okay, CJ, stop. You just need to stop, right? So I love that. Like you said, it's a mirror. It's a mirror of who we are and who we want to be.
Yeah, the saying is we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. And we all have filters. So I love the encouragement to, I've had people that were in my life for a while, then they dropped out because of an issue of communication. And then the next thing I know, I'm hearing from them. I'm going, okay, well, we'll try this again. It's it's being open, but realizing that we have filters and we have trauma. I like the fact that you mentioned the trauma because everybody's had a type of trauma, some worse than others. But we do filter our opinions and our thoughts. Everything has a filter, and not all of it's not all of our filters are good.
No, it doesn't. And I also wanted to kind of give this like a last thing, right? Like the mirror, when you're looking at the mirror doesn't actually shame you. It
Right.
invites you, right?
Mhm.
Also, stop analyzing yourself, like not to critique who you are, but to align with who you are meant to become.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. And deep down inside, I've developed a pretty strong intuition, and I can look back at some of my choices and go, then I wasn't following my intuition at that time and made a bad decision. Well, just learn from it. You know, I love the saying, take the learning and leave the rest, because you can only you can't change what you don't know. And but just be kind to yourself. I know that's something that you talk about a lot. Just be, very self-aware but kind. Um, it's like you wouldn't. I heard somebody say one time, you wouldn't if you wouldn't say it to your daughter or your son, don't say it about or to yourself, you know. And that's very true. I don't have kids, but I can imagine. So you want to love that person who you as you are, not,
Mhm.
yeah, not okay. When I lose 100 pounds, I'll like myself. Well, no, if you don't like yourself going into it, you're not going to like yourself coming out of it.
Yeah. And I think also the problem is society, right? Like what we take in is what we form,
Right.
becomes our habits. And even though we are fully aware, the subconscious mind's fully aware not to compare, we still do.
Oh,
I know at least I do. And I'm like, oh, CJ, stop. Like, I'm aware of all of these negative things, but yet I still do it. And it takes really intention. It takes intention to align yourself. So if you really want it bad enough to be who you are and what you're meant to be, you need to pay attention every time that you're doing that and be intentional on everything that you want to do. Right. Because I have two daughters. Like, I have a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old soon this year. I'm getting old.
oh
But
boy.
yeah, yeah.
So, but and be willing to let go of what is not for you. Be
Mhm.
willing to say, okay, this wasn't meant for me, or that person's not meant. And there are people we have to let go of. I know I've had to do that. We have to be willing to release people and things in our life that don't serve us, that don't resonate, that don't align with us.
I agree with that one. And I think we don't also have to shame them, right? Because that's the thing is, for some reason, when you let go of a person, you're like, well, I let go because of this, this, and this. It doesn't have to have a reason. They're just not aligned right now. It could be tomorrow. It could be 2 years from now. Who knows? But at this moment, it's just not aligned. And then just create our own drama in our head. You're like, okay, stop the negativity and just move on. I think when you're at peace with yourself,
Mhm.
anything that you lose or gain is just that, lose or gain,
Right.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Just take it as it is and don't make a big deal out of it. I think as a human race, we tend to blow things out of proportion. I um I used to say to there's a saying, I don't know what's going on with me remembering these sayings today, but oh yeah. My most frequent exercise is jumping to conclusions. And isn't that the the nature of our human race? We just assume and jump to conclusions. So we we want to embrace who we are and let people be who they are.
Yeah, and not control. Like, not control. Because I have a very small circle of friends, and when I feel like I'm lecturing, I get into my teacher mode, or I feel like I'm giving advice, I stop and I'm like, wait, I'm so sorry. You don't want my advice. Otherwise, you would have asked. Continue. Like, I want to make sure that they know and I acknowledge their thought, because I know they're thinking it, but they're not. They're trying to be kind to me and not tell me. So
Yeah.
I have to voice it out and say, guys, I'm sorry. I apologize. Continue. Like, I'm sorry. And I think that's another thing too, is not everybody wants your advice.
Right.
And um, not everybody also accepts your advice.
Yeah.
And you get discouraged to give advice when they don't follow it because they didn't ask for it. It's just criticism at this point? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Well, on that note, I want you to, we're going to have all of CJ's information at the end of the broadcast. And so you can reach out for any of her services, and you can say Level Up Academy and her show. If you want to be a good candidate, you can always reach out to me to connect with her as well. But on that note, what are some final words? We've talked about a lot of different things. I love the fact that you come from a history that prepared you for the life that you're living now. So, any final words of anything you'd like to say?
Yeah. Just live day by day, as if it's your last, because you don't know if that is something that could be the final end.
Mhm.
And also look for things that makes you happy,
Yeah.
and also find peace,
Mhm.
right? Peace and happiness is my goal every day.
Yeah.
And the only way to really love yourself and continue to serve others, if you are serving others, is to serve yourself first. When you're at peace and you're happy, then the flow of your giving back to the community is that much more powerful.
It sure is. It's that energy. We have an impact whether we know it or not. We do. You have been awesome. This has been so much fun. I'm sure we can go on for a lot longer. The shows are never long enough, I guess. And you've got so much to offer. And like I said, I know you've influenced millions. And speaking so many languages, that always impresses me because I didn't even retain Spanish from high school because I didn't have a need for it. But in your situation, you do. You're reaching a broader audience. And I respect and appreciate your coming on the show because I know your life is wildly busy. And thank you so much for
Of
being
course.
with us. And to all
Of
our listeners, reach out to either one of us to connect and whatever your needs are, be it, I do the coaching and my podcast, or you want to be on CJ's show, she can discuss that with you. And she's a blast. She's a blast. Thank you so much once again. And thanks to our listeners for joining us. And Janice Debo signing off. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.